Hi, everyone, and welcome again to Machine Dreams. This is where you get the very best insights from some of the most forward thinking leaders, experts, and stakeholders in the wild AI industry who get us behind the scenes to, show what's exactly working and what's not working in the space today and what the future could look like for all of us. My name is Kolawole Samuel Adebayo. I'm a technology analyst covering AI, cybersecurity, and enterprise technology. And as always, I'm joined by the one and only delectable, remarkable.
Wow, the adjectives keep getting better. Hi, everyone. I'm Leah Stern, communications strategist and venture capitalist. Happy to be here. Sam, where do we find you today in the world?
Today, I am in San Jose, California. I came here for some business conference and I'm hanging out for a bit. So I'm shooting out of a makeshift studio, which goes to show just how much, thoughts and efforts we put into making this work. So yeah, that's where I am.
I admire the dedication and enjoy the mothership of tech where you are at the moment. Let me know what you get up to there.
Okay.
Today, we're diving into something that I think is going to genuinely unsettle a lot of people in the security world. And you know what? That's a good thing. Our guest is Tom Findling, CEO and co-founder of Conifers. It's a company enabling security teams to build AI SOCs, not AI SOCs, AI SOCs. They don't just assist human defenders, but can take ownership of security investigations in real time. Tom comes from deep roots in cybersecurity and the Israeli startup ecosystem, a world where operating under constraint and constant threat isn't hypothetical. It's just an ordinary Tuesday. Conifers is his latest bet on what the future of defense actually looks like when AI stops being a co-pilot and starts being the investigator. Tom, welcome to Machine Dreams.
Thank you guys for having me.
Great, Tom. Thank you once again for joining us. So let's just dive right into it. When you talk about the concept of shifting away from human-led SOCs into always-on AI operators or systems that can catch alerts really fast, what does that mean in practice? And what really is driving that shift from human-led SOCs to this always-on AI systems?
That's a great question. And I think there are multiple parts to it. I think the first one, we see that today we don't have enough talents and we don't have enough people to deal with today's load. So SOCs today stay behind, takes them a lot of time to remediate threats and risks. And the byproduct of that is that a lot of organizations are getting breached. So being able to get ahead of it and investigate more incidents much earlier in the kill chain, find the real threats, escalate them, and contain them much faster than what we have today, if we can, obviously can, help us to prevent a lot of the incidents and the breaches that we see today. So that's number one. I think the future, it's a little bit more concerning. And I think we've all heard about called Mythos and the 5.4 cyber that OpenAI put out there. And the future is going to look very different than what we have today. In the future, you will have adversaries using agents and very powerful models to find zero-day vulnerabilities, to just attack, find holes in your attack surface. And they will do it in machine speed, and they will do it in scale that we've never seen before. So if the adversaries have superpowers and the defenders don't, that will be a very sad situation for all of us. And then the last thing is the maturity of the models and the agents. We looked at 24, it was the introduction to LLMs that were a great tool. In 25, we started to see agents. It's in infancy at this point. Now at 26, agents matured. They can scale. They can communicate with each other. You can monitor them. And also the models, as we can see with GPT 5.4 and Mythos and others, become so powerful. So you can start utilizing them to do those tasks. And in certain cases, and we see that a lot, sometimes also do better jobs than humans on certain aspects of the business.
And Tom, apparently you coined your own term, which we're hoping will go mainstream. It's called the agentic blue team. Can you tell me what that means?
So the agentic blue team it's an interesting concept. So as I said before, us looking forward to what the future of cybersecurity looks like, it looks very different than what we see today. Our core business when we started was just looking at investigations and investigation time and streamline that process. And this is definitely something that helps today a lot of enterprise organizations and service providers. But when we look forward, our adversaries are going to use the agentic capabilities. We see that they're going to find a lot more vulnerabilities. They're going to find a lot of more holes in your attack surface. And then just if we look at the SOC as a whole, just looking at the investigations, which has been the biggest bottleneck for many, many organizations today, it's not enough. You need to be able to provide agentic threat intelligence capabilities. So things that are coming in large masses, being able to triage them, understand which part of threat intelligence is relevant for you as an organization, and then being able to launch an automatic threat hunt and figure out, am I vulnerable for these things? If I have incidents for those pieces of threat intel that are relevant, and also just learn the environment to do continuous threat hunting, and then moving those threat hunting into detections, meaning things that are on a scheduled basis to catch the bad guys, not as freestyle as threat hunting, but things that you would like to run continuously, then do the investigation and then the response. And basically, today, this whole process takes weeks to months. And because adversaries are slow, it's there is a balance between defenders and adversaries. If adversaries are going to start using agents, defenders will have to streamline that whole process and make it, fully agentic, beginning to an end. Obviously, in some places have human in the loop, but what used to take us as a blue team weeks, potentially months to operationalize, we will have to start operationalize in minutes, and we will have to start running in machine speed as opposed to human speed. And not because we want to, because we have to, because the adversaries will get those superpowers that I was talking about earlier.
Tom, I understand what you're doing, and obviously the challenge with human-led SOC. But as you can imagine, and I'm sure that you probably have also had this conversation in some capacity before, that opens up a conversation about AI replacing people versus AI helping people work faster. So what do you say to that conversation, especially for people in cybersecurity or in SOCs around the world who are anxious or fearful about their place in the world in the AI era?
It's, again, very interesting topic, and I've been asked a lot about it. It's in cybersecurity, and as a software company, we see it in software in-house. Like, are we going to have coders in 1 or 2 years from now? Probably not. But I think what we will see, and especially in cybersecurity, is the human role within stock or other places in cybersecurity is going to evolve quite a bit. For learning and understanding how to write queries, how to interact with APIs, or doing basic triaging, you will be able to start operating in a much higher level when you're overseeing the AI, you provide guidance, you provide some sort of verification layer, and start guiding it towards what ecosystem you would like to build that works for you as a company, rather than doing all the nitty-gritty stuff on a daily basis, which takes a lot of time, and we just simply don't have enough people to do that. So it will elevate the role of humans. And if you are currently working for a cybersecurity organization or a software company, I highly recommend just to dive into this whole AI world and literally understand to the deepest level what AI can do and where humans need to direct and orchestrate and help, and try to fit yourself into those roles, because those roles are going to become super relevant in the future. Because AI needs guidance, AI needs verification, but if you are just kind of do what I do to kind of keep doing what you're doing today and hope for the best that in 5 years you will have a job, that's going to probably flip on you, unfortunately.
Building on that, Tom, I'm curious your thoughts on the news on Mythos last week. It was the clearest articulation yet of something the market is only starting to process. AI isn't just a better security tool, it's a structural threat to the existing security business model. And they're saying that where the opportunity lies, firms that pivot from human error prevention to agent behavior monitoring will define the next era. What are your thoughts on that, and do you agree?
First, I think it's a brilliant marketing move by Anthropic. They did, something that it's remarkable. First, they came up with Mythos. And when you think of Mythos, it is not a cybersecurity related model. It's just really good at coding. And when you're so good at coding, you can find all of those uncovered vulnerabilities that they have been living for the last 26 years in, Linux or all the other platforms. Like nobody put so much effort finding those vulnerabilities before. And it's never been as easy as it is right now that every 12 years old with $1,000 worth of tokens with Anthropic can have the capabilities that a nation state has today. So things will have to change. So I think we proved on one end that the models are that powerful that they can uncover all those, vulnerabilities. But where we're going into, I think we will have to create it again as a software company too. We'll have to create that layer that is part of everybody's software development lifecycle that goes and finds those vulnerabilities and remediates them as part of every software process that exists out there. So if I'm looking at, previous capabilities, brute force phishing, all those things probably is going to stay. I'm actually very interested to see how they will adapt into the agent world. Like, would you try to phish an agent? Like, obviously, people today try to do social engineering on agents, and this is why the whole security for AI is such a big industry today. So that's going to evolve for sure. But I think Anthropic uncovered the problem and potentially the solution that it's going to be introduced into the future life cycle of developing software. And if you dive even deeper into it, well, yeah, it's like Claude basically the biggest like revenue income for Anthropic. It's tokens that are coming from people who are writing code. So Anthropic today in Claude generates insane amount of code. If this code is not secure and has vulnerabilities, and we also talking today, all of us talk about, hey, vibe coding, is that something that we can integrate into production? Do humans have to look at every piece of code that gets in? And now what it's so easy to create code is humans becoming bottleneck reviewing everything. So if AI is going to review that, we just need to make sure that we're not creating like the new marketplace for vulnerabilities for adversaries. And that's why the security and finding vulnerabilities in such, not just the static level, but also much higher level, it's so important for Anthropic to make sure that people can take Claude Code and let Claude start or Codex or any other model out there with a coding agent go into production. So you want to uncover them, you want to fix them. And part of it is making sure that you're opt into the cybersecurity standards out there. So I think it's a bigger strategy of us maturing into how AI is going to incorporate in the whole development lifecycle. And it's a huge threat for a lot of the software that, has been around for a while, especially open source one, that hasn't gone through that process yet. So what do you do with all of this tech debt? And that's a very interesting conversation to have for sure.
Great. On the back of that, I know that one of the biggest challenges with AI SOCs is the issue of false alerts, where, the systems at the back end could like pick up wrong signals, or maybe even an AI agent who's probably a primary investigator could make a wrong call, right? And so that's a big issue that I've seen people talk about in the industry. How are you getting around this problem with false alerts? And I guess the more important question is, if an AI agent makes a wrong call or a bad decision, who bears the liability for that decision?
That's a very, very interesting conversation. And I will split it down to two. I think the liability issue is something which is very, very interesting. We started to benchmark the results of our agents to human analysts. And we did find that agents today, with the capabilities today, in certain organizations that we assessed, is doing less, it has less mistakes than humans. The biggest thing is that humans have a lot less tolerance for agents' mistakes versus human mistakes. We're like, oh, all humans do mistake. It's fine that, 5, 6, 7% of human judgment is a mistake. But when agents has one mistake, we're like, oh my God, that's, completely wrong. And there is a clear double standard. It's like with the driverless cars. I'm like, humans crash into so many and into each other, into trees, into whatever thing every day. But when a driverless car crash into a telephone pole in San Francisco, it's on the front page of every newspaper in the city. So I think we will have to understand, is it better than what we're experiencing today? Yes or no? I think we're starting to see, especially with the major leaps that happened in the fall of 25 and the beginning of 26, we're definitely getting there, that some tasks are being handled better by AI than humans, and we will have to start accepting it. There is an error rate that you will have to accept, especially compared to human, and understand if you're just like realistically getting better or worse. And for the first part of your question about the false positive, this is a classic use of AI. So if for human, it's so hard to let's go analyze the last 100 alerts from a certain detections and figure out what went wrong and why, 95% of the incidents that are popping up are false positives. For AI, this is like a 3 minutes job. So this feedback loop and reinforcement and continuous improvement, this is part of the agentic blue team. Like, you have a noisy detection, you look at it, you improve it, you roll it out, like you kind of run it on dry run, you roll it into production, you improve it, and you're a consistent path of improving yourself, which again, something that most organizations don't have the time today, don't have the expertise. And for humans, it's just never ending amount of time that we're not allocating. And this is like the perfect solutions for AI to step in and help us to analyze these mountains of data and help us to rationalize that to something that humans can look at and say, oh, those are the top 5 issues that I have. I want to fix number 1, number 3, and number 5. The other 2 I don't care about. Roll it into production and keep improving. So this self-improving systems with human in the loop. By the way, you asked about where human will find themselves in the future. Great example of AI is doing the analysis, the human review it, decide what he wants to implement, and then AI goes and implement that, and then keep improving itself. So also with software, like it's never done. It's not like you ship the code and it's static code that runs. Even our product today learns from customer environment, self-improving itself on the customer side. And this is, if you would have asked me 2 years ago where we're going to be, 24 months later, I could have never imagined that we will be in a position that we have software that runs on customer environment and improve itself based on the customer's environment behaviors without even letting us know. It's like kind of doing it, and sometimes it's doing it with the customer, but we're not even involved in the process. And this is just fascinating to see and watch and to be part of.
And you've been on this journey coming from cybersecurity. I imagine perhaps you were in a cyber unit back in your early days of military service, maybe 8200, maybe 8100, if I could take a guess. And you've seen the evolution of the cyber industry, and Israeli cybersecurity is still the hottest, the most coveted. 50 cents of every dollar globally spent on cyber comes out of Israel. And you've shifted to the US. So I wonder how you compare the cybersecurity startup scene in Israel versus in the US and Silicon Valley and elsewhere, and how you see it evolving and moving, because it seems to be now changing at an accelerated pace. As you said, previous startups in cybersecurity will no longer be relevant with the technology changing so quickly. So what is your assessment now on where we stand versus where we were?
So first, we enjoy the best from both worlds. We're split between Texas and Tel Aviv. So we have a big office here in Texas. We have a big office in Tel Aviv. And we find a way to bring, the Israeli startup mentality and the US startup mentality and get the best from both worlds. But Leah, for your question, it's like literally feels like every 3 months or even less than that, somebody pulls the rug under your feet and you have to fall on your butt, and it sometimes hurts. And it started like that a year and a half ago, but you will just have to accept it. I'm like, we changed completely our hiring process, the people that we are looking for. We completely changed our dev process, how we're rolling out things into production, how we put things in tech preview, how we collect, how we connect feedback from our customers, and how we iterating much faster. And I keep telling all of my direct reports and all our executives in the past, like I remember myself when I just got into the product engineering world, they sent me into, I was at VMware, they sent me into an agile class and said, hey, that's the future. Go take a class. I came back. I kind of figured it all out, adopted into what you were doing. There is no class of how you develop software in the AI world. And if it would have been a class, it would have been outdated in like 2 weeks. So like we're looking for people that love change, people that can adopt really, really fast. And it's could be that 20, 30, 40, 60% of what you worked on the last year is going to be tossed away and you will have new things that you have to work on. So this is like go almost against human nature. Like we all hate change and we love stability, but the few people that embrace change and super agile, those are the people that are going to be very successful in this world. And there is no textbook. I'm like, there is all, those podcasts like what you guys are doing and others. I listen to all of them all the time when people kind of exchange ideas. Oh, that's what's not working for me. I tried it didn't work. Like it was a horrible trial. Don't even go down that path. And something that we tried 3 months ago and failed completely now are achievable, then we can double down on them. So you have to be so agile and reevaluate yourself and use the community and always communicate about what's working, what's not working. And it's very important to separate like the hype of what people talk about in YouTube and LinkedIn and what actually works for people in real life. And this is why we created like a small community of founders and companies that communicate with each other and really help us. We help ourselves to adapt because we became a little, research software lab teams that kind of always have to keep up with what's going on outside and out there. And if you stay behind for 3 months and you're not innovating, you can become obsolete. So it used to take months or years to become obsolete. Now it's weeks or months. So, oh my God, it's just crazy in the cyber. It's in the, I would say in the cyber world, but it's not. It's beyond that. If you start a company, in the past, you had to have the right timing, the right talent, the right technology. Now you have to reinvent yourself every 2 weeks, which is amazing. Living through that is a fortune.
Tom, my last question. Earlier on, you spoke about the talent shortage in the cybersecurity space, especially in SOCs around the world. And of course, AI now has entered into the fray to really, really shift the landscape. I'm curious, and I know a lot of the people watching and listening would be curious about this. What is the future? What does the future look like for humans in, SOCs around the world?
That would be a very interesting prediction to make. As I said before, I think it will start being AI fighting AI. So humans will not be in the front line anymore, and the humans will be able to have the adaptation to work in the agentic world, in the AI world, and understand what agents can or cannot do, how to guide agents, how to adjust and communicate well with them. Because it's so funny. We just added a feature to our product that allows you to speak directly with the agent, run the investigation of your incident. So now you can literally text with them, like you will text with a human on Teams, and you will communicate with them. And we are also going to roll out ability to talk with them like in voice. So imagine you can talk with somebody like we are talking right now, and he will be able to respond back, and you would not know if it's a machine or a real human. But being able to understand what are the agent capabilities, apply them in the best way possible in your environment, safeguard, guideline, and communicate with that layer to bring it into the extreme, that will become the core capabilities that will define the best, future cyber defenders. It will be very, very different than what we see and know today. And we already in a shortage on some of the new skills that in cybersecurity. So yeah, if you're curious, if you're smart, and you can start thinking out of the box and challenge agents and find better how to communicate and work with them. Your job is almost guaranteed for the next couple of years, but if you're just kind of still doing what you're doing right now, I think that will be a little bit more challenging.
Tom Findling, CEO and co-founder of Conifers, thank you for joining us on Machine Dreams. This was an important, insightful conversation.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Tom. And thank you to everyone listening. If this one got you thinking, share it with someone in security who needs to hear it. We'll see you next time on Machine Dreams.